Welcome to another episode of Coder Conversations. We got Brian Goodspeed back with us. Welcome back to the show, man.
And thanks, Kev. Thanks, Kev.
Yeah, man, glad to have you back. On the last show, we kind of got into unemployment a little bit and
Hmm.
how we dealt with it. So this show, I kind of wanted to dive a little deeper into that subject because a lot of people are going through unemployment right now, and a lot of people are losing hope. They're looking for strategies on how to survive. So
Absolutely.
uh, yeah, let's just dive into that a little bit. So, just to give a recap, both me and you were recently unemployed not
Right.
too long ago. Me about a year ago, you a little more recent.
Yep.
And, it's trying times for both of us. We never been through unemployment quite like that.
Right. 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 Um, yeah, it was like I said. It was very enlightening. I learned a lot in that moment or in that process. Um, Being laid off to the extent where you're unemployed for a substantial amount of time. A month. I think is kind of generally the breaking point. Um, What about you? Like, at what point did you feel like, okay, this is starting to get a little stressful or a little strenuous?
So, yeah, normally it's like, before it would take like 2 weeks, a month to find a new job. But
Hmm.
once you start getting in 2 months and not a bunch of recruiters are hitting you back, then it starts dawning on you, hey, maybe this is a little different.
Yeah, yeah.
Maybe I need to be a little more active. When did it start dawning on you?
Um, I think because I was not necessarily prepared because I kind of got blindsided by my layoff. It's not like, sometimes a company will give you like a heads up. I think your company did. My company didn't give me a heads up at all. It was like literally, hey, your position is being consumed by our restructure. So yeah, thanks, but no thanks. You know what I mean?
Right.
They didn't really give me any type of severance. They didn't give me any type of heads up. Literally, it was like, yeah, so this is this, and good luck. You know what I mean?
Right.
Um, for me, I think even though I wasn't prepared as far as the actual layoff itself is concerned, I had, a little bit of savings, and so I had something to fall back on, thank God. Um, and I think about a month, maybe 6 weeks, that 4 to 6 weeks range is where I started kind of feeling some pressure to
Hmm.
really start applying myself to try to secure a new position. That's when, it was kind of like having an aha moment. It didn't get stressful until maybe like month two. Then it started, like I really started feeling anxious about landing my next position.
Yeah, absolutely. So, like, were there any telltale signs that, hey, maybe something is not quite right? Like, were there certain discussions had or tone or tenor of the company where a lot of people quitting, or did it just kind of happen out of nowhere?
It kind of just happened out of nowhere. Prior to that moment, yes, there were other positions that got consumed, or there was a restructuring process going on. There was financial woes that the company was experiencing, so forth and so on. Everybody got some type of hit during COVID, and trying to build back from that. I think especially a lot of tech companies, they felt the hit, especially to their client base. Clients aren't spending as much money. You're not getting new clients. So yeah, I mean, I think it was an overall process that we had to go through as a company, but I just never thought that me or my position would be affected.
Right. So you were actually like pretty high up in the company. You're well integrated.
Hmm.
You looked up to.
Oh yeah.
So
Yeah,
for
I was
you,
that
I
guy, man.
guess.
Yeah, I was the man. And I think that's kind of plays into part of that comfortability. You kind of get complacent, in your position, like, oh yeah, I've been here for so long, or oh yeah, I'm the man around here or the woman around here. Like when you feel like you are valuable, right? Not just to yourself, but to the company, you feel like you're untouchable to a certain degree,
Right.
which is just not the case. You're never untouchable. At the end of the day, you're an employee, and your position and you as a person, you're expendable.
Right, and that's something that's really interesting. Like, no matter how good you think you are, no matter how much value you feel you bring to the company, if the circumstances change, then you're out of a job,
Yeah.
and it may be when you least expect it.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. I can contest to that. It definitely was blindside, man. After I think about, like I said, about 6 weeks to 2 months, when I really start feeling the pressure, money's drying up because the bills don't stop, right? They keep coming in. So once you actually start realizing that these job opportunities aren't as, you know, um, plentiful as you may have assumed the last time you were in the market. Like I said, I was in the market the last time like 5 years prior to my layoff. So a lot can change, especially in the tech market, in 5 years, which it did tremendously. So I wasn't ready. And I think it's very important to maintain a certain level of readiness. Even if you're not in the market, you should be paying attention to the market.
Right.
Yeah. What about you? Like, did you navigate that process the same way? Like, was it just wildly different from the previous time you were in the job market till when you got your layoff?
Okay, so like with me, it was around the time with the tech companies they were doing all these layoffs, but I thought I was safe because it was Broadcom is a player that's heavy in the AI field, and as we all know, AI companies are taking off, like Nvidia, etc. So I
Yeah.
kind of felt like I was safe, but I still got the notification I would be losing my job, and at least I had a bit of time to prepare, and they gave me some money to fall back on.
Right. Right.
So when you kind of go into unemployment, then is I would say the first month or so is kind of laid back because you got a lot of money, and you got this notion that oh man, it ain't gonna be too hard for me to
Right.
find another job. So you know, I think I kind of took it easy a little bit, but I use that as an opportunity to start looking into my own business ventures,
Okay.
like website development, and I think I doubled down on this podcast, but still, none of those ventures were really bringing money, so
Right. Right.
it's like they didn't even exist. They required money. I was pouring money into it, so.
Right, right.
Um,
So let me ask you this then. Like when you're looking for other streams of income, because obviously
mhm,
whether you have a job or not, multiple streams of income is important, right? If you want to grow, financially or even just as an individual. I have an entrepreneur spirit and I've always tried to put that at the forefront of my endeavors. Like, so for example, I have a trucking business in addition to, my 9 to 5. Uh,
right.
but like you just said, you have a certain like thought process and it's hard to you can spread yourself too thin sometimes, and I
Yeah.
think sometimes when you are a big mind and you have all these ideas and thought processes, it's easy to want to do everything all at once, and you're only one person. Your resources are limited, like even the trucking business itself, like it has brought on a lot of financial, stress because,
Right.
again, that's just another thing that you have to attend to and pour money into, like you said. But if you look at it from a venture or a longevity standpoint, and you're not just doing something just to earn a few extra bucks, and you're really trying to build something, that's when I feel like you have the best opportunities to grow.
Right. Yeah. So, a lot of people talk about side hustles. I don't really believe in side hustles. I believe
Hmm.
in side businesses,
Hmm.
side career. You eventually want to transition to full time, and you're dumping that amount of effort and resources into it. To me,
Yeah.
side hustles like I'm kind of playing around with this. If I earn a
Hmm.
little bit of change, then
Yeah. Cool.
that's
Yeah.
okay. But you're not taking it seriously. Whereas like with the trucking business, you dumped a lot of money, a lot of time.
Yeah. It's an investment.
Um, yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah, it's definitely the difference between a side hustle and an actual business venture. A side hustle, like you said, is more or less just a way to earn a few extra bucks. You can go cut a yard, or you can go, do a side project, build something and sell it, there's a lot of side hustles. I feel like a side hustle mentality is literally like just to earn more cash, where a business venture is to create something that earns or builds upon itself. It's like investing in the
Yeah.
stock market, right? That's not a side hustle. That's an investment. You're trying to grow or build this portfolio so that it can at some point serve you.
I think Brian froze up. Okay, there
Oh,
you go. We got you back.
man, I was just playing a trick on you. Not no, but I don't know what you didn't hear or what part I froze on. But
Just like the last couple of seconds.
okay, cool, cool, cool. But yeah, I mean, you get the general idea. Um, like I said, there's a major difference, and I think a lot of people go into businesses assuming that it's a side hustle, right? It's or they think that they're building a business, but what they're really doing is just putting money into a side hustle, which I don't think that makes sense. I don't think you should ever put money into a side hustle. A side
Right.
hustle should only generate cash flow. It shouldn't cost you anything but your time, where
Right.
a business is going to cost you more than just your time. It's going to also cost financial resources as well. But you're investing that in the forefront to be able to build something long term that will, like I said before, will end up serving you. So like you're building a machine, and once that machine actually starts running on its own, now it's, for the lack of better words, it's like printing money, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think the important thing about starting a business too is that it takes time. So you're
Yes.
not just gonna open the doors and millions of dollars is gonna start flowing in.
Man, who you telling, man? Um, I
So
can definitely contest to that. Like, I'm going on my third year running this trucking business, and it's still an uphill battle. Like, I feel like I'm starting to come to the top of the peak where I'm gonna start coasting a little bit more. But man, it's been rough, and I think that it's been several times where I thought, you know what, man, this is for the birds. It's not. I'm not making no money. This is that. But my expectations had to shift. I had to
yeah,
really change my thought process about this just being a cash cow and actually understanding that this is something that you have to build. It's not gonna just, you start a business and you're just gonna start raking in the dough, right? Like it's not
yeah,
a get rich quick, scheme. It's literally something that you have to really put your boots to the ground and start working. You don't get an opportunity to just kick back, and be an executive instantly. Like that has to come with trial and error. You're going to lose some money here and there, but I don't look at it as losing money, because if you stick with it and don't give up
right.
and you actually believe in what you're doing and just adjust and start acclimating yourself to the process, you're not losing money, you're investing money. And you have to have that mindset.
Yeah,
Have you ever
that's
have you ever done that? Like as far as like a business venture?
yeah. I mean, that's a really important point that you brought up because most small businesses, I believe they say it takes 5 years before they turn a profit.
Yeah, that's
So,
the
like
average.
even with this podcast, I haven't generated a dime from it, but slowly but surely, it's garnering traction, and pretty soon it's going on radio and TV. So now I'm starting to see the fruits, but this was years later.
Right.
You know, but in the meanwhile, I've been investing a lot of money into equipment,
Hmm.
subscriptions, a lot of time, and you're going to labor for a long time before you start to see the results of your efforts. And like you mentioned, you just got to keep going. So what
Yeah.
was it that made you keep going when you didn't really see any fruits from it?
Honestly, if I had to play it all back in my head in my weakest moments, I couldn't fathom throwing everything away. Like
Mm,
all the work and resources and time and effort that I put into building the business, and it's still under construction. Don't get me wrong, but it's like if you were building a house, right? You pour the foundation, you got the plumbing and everything, all the rough ends, you got your framing up, and all of a sudden, half of your framing gets knocked down. Okay, at that point, you still have a foundation. Like you still have something to work with. And
right,
yes, it might be devastating that, man, I lost this and it's not looking good, but you can rebuild. You can continue to build. Like you can always continue. Now, obviously, if your funds dry up and there, it may require some, for the lack of better words, like some out of the box thinking to how to solve this problem. But it just depends on your tenacity. How much do you really want this? Your why has to be stronger than your effort. Like you have to want what you want. Your reason for doing it has to be stronger than just the fact that you're doing it. So that's what helped me stay in. Is just I just couldn't see myself tearing everything down and turning my back and just walking away. There was still something to work with. I could still build this thing. I could still continue, and I'm glad I did. There was, like I said, there was several moments where I was so low, and I was just like, man, this is, this is just not good. I don't even know why I'm doing this. Like I lost my way, but
Right.
I found myself again in that process.
Yeah, that's really encouraging to hear that you stuck with it, because I think ultimately you have to find a reason bigger than just getting money,
Money, yeah.
especially immediate money. There
Hmm.
has to be something deeper than that that keeps you going, because otherwise, when you're going years and years and years and you're not seeing any real fruit, like you're not seeing any returns on that investment,
Right,
then you start thinking about, hey, maybe I need to give this up.
right.
But that's kind of like when you're on the verge of success. That's when, like, if you just keep going a little longer,
Hmm.
then the gates are gonna open.
Have you ever heard that? I think I forgot the exact saying, but basically it's like you're a foot away from gold or a foot away from diamond.
Yeah,
Basically, there's a picture where a guy is, you know, he's chipping away, been chipping away. He done invested all this money into this equipment because he just knows that he's gonna find, diamond. And if he would have just chipped one more foot, of digging, he would have found diamond. But he decided to give up because he hadn't found anything up to that point. But
yeah,
so for me, it's like I just always believe that I'm here for a reason, right? Like
mm,
I'm doing this for a reason, and I have to continue to strengthen myself with that focus. Like you're
right.
you're not here for nothing. You're here for a reason. Continue to follow your dream. Continue to follow your path, and don't just never give up. Never give up.
Exactly. As cliche as that may sound, it's true,
Yeah,
because
absolutely.
you got to keep going. And especially in unemployment, I know that was really challenging, because a lot of money was going out, but money
Hmm.
necessarily wasn't coming in. So,
Exactly. And
when you
don't
could,
forget the fact that I still was paying for, you know, funneling money into this trucking business too.
yeah,
So I was in a very different position than the average person who's laid off, right? So
right,
I'm having to support not just my household and just making sure the bills are paid, but I'm also having to manage and funnel money into this, trucking business too. So I had it double time, man. It was rough. It was rough.
yeah, yeah. In those moments, like, how did you keep from just getting completely discouraged?
I think that, like, not alluding to my previous statement, but I knew I had more. Like I got kids
Hmm.
to take care of, I got a family. So I think again, my why was just stronger than what I was going through.
Hmm.
Um, I didn't have an option, giving up or, like for the lack of better words, like just throwing in the towel. Like that wasn't an option. Like
Right,
you have to set yourself up in a position to where losing is not an option. And if losing is not an option, there's no other choice but to win.
right,
Now, how you win might be different than what you anticipated or what you expected. When like I said, the money is drying up, well, then you need to get creative. You
yeah,
got to figure out a way to get some money in, and that's when freelancing became a thought process for me more heavily. Which I'm gonna, we really need to, wrap on that. I think that
yeah,
as you start leveraging your skill set, if you're in the industry already, instead of trying to find a side hustle that doesn't kind of tap into what you're already great at, utilize your skill set, utilize what you're already great at, and try to find a way to leverage what you already have to get what you need or get what you want.
exactly. Because you already got that skill set, so you're not, spending a lot of time trying to
Mhm.
develop something new, something out of your forte. So you might as well just utilize something you've been spending years developing, anyways. But
Absolutely.
it just takes the motivation to get up off the couch and get it going.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Do you think freelancing is a viable option to not be just a side hustle, like to actually build a business in that realm?
Yeah, I've known someone who they're a business owner now and they do consulting work. So
Mm,
if you're really good at freelancing, it turns into your own consulting firm, your own consulting business. And, you know, obviously it takes time just like anything else. You're not going to go right out the gate getting all these amazing clients. So, you
right.
might even have to do some free work.
Mm,
Like, I built a couple of websites for free. And, really, is it free? Like, I'm not getting money, but I have something in my portfolio to show, like, hey, this is what I can do.
right. That goes along with the investment part, right? It's not,
Exactly.
if you continue to build on that, it's never a loss or you're not losing anything. So you're saying, oh, I spent time doing this and I didn't get paid for it. That's fine because you're not doing it to get paid. You're doing it to build your brand. You're doing it to invest in the future of your product and who you are,
Mhm.
what you have to offer. Because we talk about not getting paid for your efforts. How many times have you done side projects, it never went anywhere and you just learned something from it, right? You
Right.
didn't expect to get anything, but because you're doing it just under your own merit, nobody's telling you, oh, I want this or I need that, but you're still just learning on your own for free. Like you're not getting paid for that. So I look at it at the same way. Like I'm not getting paid for this. However, there is still an importance of this
Yeah.
process to build what I'm trying to build.
Absolutely. And, just that ability to invest in yourself, that's what separates the mediocre from the good from the great, and the great from the excellent. Like the excellent, they're willing to invest a lot in themselves, even without immediate return, because they know that it's going to pay off in the future. So,
There
like,
it
say,
is.
for example, you want to start a business. Um, you want to be excellent, so you're buying books, you're reaching out to mentors, and even spending money with them to get the coaching you need. Like you're
Right.
putting money in yourself so that you'll have the best skills. And I think people just have to be willing to invest in themselves more.
Yeah. And I think you mentioned something there, and I've always struggled with this aspect of the coaching and like buying
Mm,
courses and things like that. I've always had a weird feeling about that, and I don't know why, but I'm always
mhm.
thinking to myself, like, okay, I'm gonna pay this person to teach me something, but they learned it from somewhere.
Right.
So why don't I just go to the source? The problem is, and what I was
Mhm.
overlooking is that the source is out there. Like you can learn all this stuff, but the time and effort that it
Yep.
takes to be able to find all the relevant pieces, 'cause you don't have to filter and sift through all of the, rigmarole or, the noise or the fluff. It's just being able to provide or to be able to consume this content and say, okay, I know everything I need to know that's important, and I can
Mhm.
put all the other stuff to the side. You just saved yourself what, year, 2 years of
Right.
having to go through that process on your own. And I was a very stubborn person when it came to learning. Like I was like, I can learn this on my own. I don't need no guru
Mhm.
or a self-proclaimed guru to teach me or tell me, especially if I gotta pay them for it, I can just go find it for free. But you're not paying them for the information more or less than you're paying them for their experience. They've already done what you're trying to do. And so being able to tap into somebody who has already done what you want to do, that's fast tracking your way. So you're paying for the experience, not the actual content itself.
Yeah, exactly. You mentioned a great point. As coders, we're self learners, so we could probably go on the internet, find some documentation,
Mhm,
sift through the documentation and eventually learn it ourselves. But
mhm,
the problem is that, like you mentioned, it's incredibly time consuming.
mhm.
And if this guy over here, he's an expert in the field and he can just give us the information we need directly, so that we're saving weeks of time. How much money can we generate in those weeks that we're not spending trying to scour these free resources? Free isn't always free, because like you say, it costs time. So
Right. Which is one of the most, well, if not the most valuable resource on the planet. And it's
right.
funny you say that because when you're thinking about investing, the investment mindset isn't how much it costs, it's how much it's going to make me. It
Mm,
don't matter how much it costs if how much it makes is greater than the original cost. So you spend, let's just say you spend $1,000 on a course training, but then from that training you earn $5,000. Well, yeah, that in the initial thought process of, man, that's expensive, but it don't matter. It don't matter if it was 10,000, if it was $10,000 course or a $10,000 training, and you make 50,000 because of that. The 10,000 is irrelevant. Like
yeah,
it doesn't matter in the grand scheme of things. And when you're freelancing or when you're trying to build, another stream of income, especially to be able to safeguard yourself against like, unexpected layoffs or, just whatever the situation may be, you just never know when you'll need something else to support you and your family. Like having that before it actually, it's like insurance, right? You don't get insurance after you have a wreck. You got to have,
right.
at the moment. So you have that in place. You build that to be your safety net, to be your insurance. And a lot of people just don't do that. I'm curious, in the audience, like how many of you have actually built or tried to build a business in addition to your regular 9 to 5, your income. I would be interested in seeing. Let me know.
Yeah, absolutely. Just send us a email, or if you're watching live, just type it in the comment. But yeah, it takes a while to start a business and for it to be profitable. So that's why it's important to start now, especially while you have a job. Get it going while you have income coming in and you're not under pressure.
Yeah.
So when you do lose your job, then you have this to fall back on, and you might be able to go into that full time.
So if you had a tier list of best uses of your time, as far as, I'm not gonna, like, building another stream of income, what would you say in today's time? I would say give me three things that you feel like in our industry, in our,
Mm.
um just being laid off as a coder.
Okay.
Yeah, what do you feel like would be the top three things you should try to focus on to build a business?
Okay. So I would say, like, initially, you need visibility. Somebody has to see what you're doing. So investing time on platforms like LinkedIn or even something like this podcast, because I've gotten a lot of opportunities just from being on LinkedIn or even somebody seeing the podcast. So, say for example, Free Code Camp. Have you ever utilized that site before?
Yes, actually, I like it.
Okay,
Now, I I've tried my best to. It's hard for me to just stick to that, and that only. My mind starts getting, cloudy and foggy. I want to create. I want to build.
right.
But sometimes, yes, I feel like that's very important. But proceed.
So, okay, yeah. So yeah, the owner of Free Code Camp, Quincy Larson, he actually hit me up on LinkedIn one day and invited me to come on to his podcast. So,
Oh, okay,
you know, if
nice,
I would have never been posting on LinkedIn, if I would have never been visible, I wouldn't have had that opportunity.
gotcha.
And it's not only in the digital realm; it's just like networking, marketing, meeting people.
Mm,
So, in order for the opportunity to meet your skill set, you have to be where the opportunities are, and you're never going to have that opportunity come to you. It's not going to come to your front door. You
okay,
got to be out and about meeting people, so visibility is super important.
right, right,
Two, I would say constantly developing your skill set, because in our industry you can't have the same skill set that you started with. It's not like you learned this once and then you coast the next 30 years with this knowledge you learned in, like, college.
right,
You
right.
always got, even you know what I'm saying? Like, you decided to intentionally take this job that you got now because it's something different. Like,
Right,
typically you did Angular, now React.
right, right. Yeah,
So you're dramatically expanding your ability to find new opportunities.
yeah. And
So
I definitely believe that, like, wholeheartedly, being like ingrained into the ever, so it changes constantly. Technology doesn't wait for no one. And when you think about how fast technology moves, especially in software engineering, because like in a matter of a year, you might get a completely new version of Angular. And in that new version, things could change, so many different concepts or features may be added or removed, or, it just completely transforms. Like you never know. Like it could be the very next release, and then what you know is obsolete. And then when you start going from one framework to another, as I did when I went from Angular to React, like even though I feel very comfortable in that transition, it's still a transition nonetheless. I could have done a much better job of being prepared and learning React in a more active way versus just dabbling in it and truly taking on that as a intentional thing to learn. Like I never did that until now. Like when I had opportunities for React and no opportunities for Angular, it's like, man, I need to learn this stuff. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like I can't play around because most of the opportunities that I'm getting are React. And I don't care what anybody says. Even if it says React or Angular, if it's a React position, they want you to know React. Like,
Right.
it was so many interviews I went on, and I feel like I got overlooked. I didn't even get a chance to get interview opportunities because I didn't have React professionally on my resume. And
Right.
even just the few people that I did get an opportunity with, just to talk, that initial talk, the first thing they ask, like, have you ever used, React? And I'm just like, well, I know it, I know React, but I have never used it professionally, and I never hear from them again. So even though they say React or Angular, or basically any JavaScript framework, if you I want you to have experience with something, whatever the actual requirement is, that's what they want you to know. And so if you can go in there and actually expand your resume by searching for these opportunities, I didn't have to stay or wait until I needed a job to try to find these other opportunities.
Yeah.
I could have actively searched for new opportunities, like without being under the pressure of a layoff or trying to demand a new position because I need to feed my family. You know what I mean? Because
Yeah.
once you're in that position, you get slow. It's kind of too late. It's too late. It's
Yeah.
too late to try to say, "Oh no, I do know this. Just give me a chance," because you're not going to even get the interview.
Right.
But
Yes. That's it. Oh, go ahead.
no, I was just gonna say, but to what you were saying, continuing to hone your skills is super important. It's super important. You transitioned into from Angular to React too, didn't you?
Yeah, I did React for a little while at AT&T,
Okay.
and this current job is Angular, but I'm doing a lot more stuff like DevOps now. So,
Okay. Okay.
still,
Ooh,
still,
DevOps, huh?
yeah, like
How was
not
that?
like super hardcore, but
Right.
kind of looking at the infrastructure, how to set up the CI/CD pipeline, things of that nature,
Gotcha.
and
Is that
it's
something that
great.
you wanted to learn, or you just
Yeah,
kind
yeah.
of took it on just because it was just part of your job?
Oh yeah, it's something I wanted to learn because even me looking at a lot of these job listings, they're starting to ask for like DevOps type of experience, whether it's Azure or Jenkins,
Yeah,
and
AWS, all that stuff.
just different DevOps implements that they're looking for you to have Kubernetes, Docker.
Yeah,
So you know you have to have some level of foresight.
yeah, yeah.
So
Absolutely. Just being a developer isn't good enough anymore.
yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
Back in the day when we first started, man, you were a developer, you low key a rock star, like,
Yep.
and it's just no longer like there was no such thing as full stack back, 10 years ago. Like you did front end or you did back end, like that was it. But now it's like
Right.
everybody wants full stack. So continuing to build upon your skill set is so important, not even just from a framework, but in an architecture type space. Like you have to not just focus on what you do, but you need to focus on the other intricate parts of this whole development process. Like you're saying, DevOps, front end, back end, even the design process, like building, developing requirements. A part that a lot of people don't even really look into, but even code reviewing and code structure and being efficient and creating standard operating procedures. Like a lot of that stuff is becoming one position. Like there's no separation anymore. Like that's becoming a thing of the past, and they want one person to do it all.
Exactly. And do you really want to do everything? No, but that's what the requirements are asking. So you have to
Hmm.
be able to match them requirements. And
Yeah.
that kind of makes me go into my final point about that. The question you asked me is just mindset shift. Like you
Hmm.
have to not think of yourself as JavaScript developer, right, or Angular developer. You're like an architect or a carpenter, and JavaScript is one of your tools. But you know, if that tool doesn't handle the job that you're being asked to do, you're able to go get the appropriate tool and learn it and accomplish the job. So it's all about being someone who can deliver the desired end result. Because
Yeah.
if you're just a quote unquote in your mind a JavaScript developer, that's the only kind of job you can get. And when there's no more JavaScript jobs, then you're done for.
Right.
You
Right.
know.
Yeah.
So
I had to actually. I've learned quite a few other technologies or code. Uh, languages in my career, like not just front end or JavaScript, but I've also had to dabble in Java. I've had to dabble in C sharp. I've had to dabble in Swift, and so for example, with app development, like creating, even though I might be using something like native script or something like Flutter to build the UI, when you're trying to build plugins and interfaces with the actual hardware of the devices, then you have to get into the native code, right? And so Kotlin and Java on the Android side, but then also Swift and C on the iOS side. So a lot of that, or Objective C, I should say, but a lot of that comes from just being in positions where that became a requirement, not because that what my job description said, or that's what I came into this position assuming that I would be taking on. This just it just happened, and I stepped up to the plate and said, you know what, I can do it. You
yeah.
know, and sometimes it's just that, like you said, just shifting your mindset away from what you think you can do versus what you want to accomplish, because that will grow you as an individual. So now that's very important.
So yeah, I think some of the major points are like one is you have to have some foresight and start developing skills ahead of time. Like what are the important skills of the future? Okay, this technology is really emerging, so I'm gonna learn this before it really gets popping. So I'll already be ready.
Right.
And two, having like something to fall back on, like a business, like you mentioned. And it's important to have this done ahead of time, because if it catches you off guard, that's when you fall into these situations of desperation, and
Right.
you might end up taking a lot less than you're worth just to make ends meet.
Yeah. No,
You
tell me.
know,
Yeah.
that's something we both went through. Like we
Yeah.
were making significantly more at our previous jobs, but just because the market was so bad, we had
Yeah.
to take less compensation.
Right. Which that also leans into the other part that I was talking about when I was saying that you don't have to wait until you need a job to look into other opportunities. And sometimes it's just to keep your tools sharp, just to keep you ready for the market. Because let's say, and I'll be honest, every move that I've made while I already had a job, I've always gone up. It's
Yeah,
only when I try to find a position when I'm not employed that I have to take a step back, or it's linear, right? And to elevate in this industry, and I think it's probably synonymous with any industry, is to go to a new company, but not when you're in desperation mode, like you said, but when you're just fine. Like, because then you can come to the table and be like, I don't need this job. I'm just trying to see if I can be of value to you, and you could be of value to me. And if it, if it aligns properly, okay, we got action. But I don't need this. And so you can go in and kind of be, a little a little arrogant a little bit. You come in there and hey, y'all looking for me. Here I go. You know what I mean? Hey, you
yeah.
looking for me? Here I am. Now, are you really looking for me? Show me. What you talking about? Let's talk
Right.
about benefits. Let's talk about compensation. But when you're in desperation mode, you're like, hey man, I need y'all. Please hire
Right.
me.
Yeah.
I need this job, man. I got to put some food on the table.
Right.
Nah, man, it's definitely a power play. It's a power shift. So if I would always say, continue to look for opportunities, even if you're not looking for an opportunity, because in that process, you may find something better, right? Or you just stay with your ears to the ground of what's actually changing and what people are looking for. What's the top dog in requirements for a new position and what you already are doing, or the next step up. You may be a regular developer. Well, what does it take to be a lead? What does it take to be an architect? What does it take to be a project manager? Or, what are they looking for? How can I take my skills that I'm already proficient at and build upon that to advance myself in this industry?
Yeah, that's a great point. You got to work on your employability before you're
Mhm.
unemployed.
Yeah,
Number
yeah,
one. And every society in the world prior to more modern societies, they've always stored up food. They've had a huge reserve because they know, okay, times of famine are coming. But we've been pretty blessed to not really have to go through any long, long period of trial and tribulation. This most recent stint of layoffs. This is the closest thing we faced to probably like a, well, they had the one in early 2000s, but
mhm,
for us,
right,
we haven't really had a terrible economic climate. But now that we're getting a taste of it, it's like the world hasn't changed. There's still periods of famine, so you have to prepare. You have to have something stored up.
right, absolutely, absolutely, and that's it's kind of back what we were talking about before, where you're preparing yourself for what may happen. But even if you don't look at it like that, it just does so much for you as a developer to build upon your skill set, like you said. Like it's not just for an insurance policy if something goes wrong, right? Because you can actually be intentional with that building process and target certain technologies or target certain things that the market is looking for, like you said, to be more employable, not necessarily to land a new job, but just for your own benefit. Because that might even lend itself well to a business venture or freelancing or something else that you may be able to take on that has nothing to do with a job, right?
Right.
Yeah,
And
man.
so to kind of draw it back to the topic of the show, how you maintain hope during periods of unemployment is, I think the big thing is realizing that it's not necessarily you that's the problem. It
Mhm.
can be, but a lot of times it's not. Like in our case, it wasn't. It's the market. So
Right,
we had the skill set, but we just had to dig deeper for the opportunity. So a lot of you've been employed and done a great job at whatever it is you're doing. You just have to dig deeper for those opportunities because
right.
they might be less, and you're gonna have to be creative.
Right, absolutely, absolutely. And in those times, nobody wants or expects to be in a position where they're in desperation mode, right? And I don't even want to say desperation mode
Yeah.
because the very first day that you experience job loss for whatever reason, your mode shouldn't shift from one thing to another. From day one, you should be on it. You should be
Mhm.
ready to
Yeah.
get back at it. And I know a lot of us take a break. I did. I took
Yeah.
about a month break. I
Yeah.
wasn't trying at all because I felt confident, and it was a false sense of confidence. But if I should have from day one been, I'm talking trying my hardest, right? Like to get back into the swing of things because there's a ramp up period, right? Like,
Yeah.
you don't it takes about a week or 2 to just get acclimated to the, job search process. Like, you literally have to start putting in apps. You have to start searching. You like there's a process. You gotta start looking at LinkedIn and start looking at all these job sites. You have a lot to do. And so when you're looking at the chance to actually land that position, what you need to do is start from the jump. Don't wait.
Yeah.
Don't look at it as a chance like, okay, well, it's going to be easy, or I can do it next week, or I'll get to it. Let me
Yeah.
kick back a little bit. Let me enjoy life for a little bit. You should have already been enjoying life.
Right.
you don't
Right.
you don't take this opportunity. This is not the time to start enjoying life. This is
Yeah.
the time to really start putting your feet to the ground and start rolling, because it'll happen so fast. It'll happen so fast. How? So let me ask you this: when you, because you said how long were you out?
My total unemployment was like 4 months.
Okay, so we were generally around the same time frame. I know you know like yours happened a little earlier, but it
Yeah.
was about, I think it was about 4 or 5 months for me too. But
Right.
where, at what point, like when did you really start trying to find another job? Like when did you feel like you actually said, you know what, I'm gonna actually put forth effort to find a job?
Hmm. Yeah, I guess probably a couple of months in, especially when, like typically in the markets before your inbox, you have like 4 or 5 recruiters a day, it felt like.
Hmm.
But during this market, it wasn't anything. It was like
Right,
maybe
right,
one recruiter for weeks.
right.
And
And then
you remember,
that one recruiter doesn't lead to anything, right? Like they
right.
hit you up, they get your information, and then next thing you know, you don't hear nothing from them, right?
And in my case too, I was doing a lot, not a lot, but a decent amount of interviews, and then and it would be the final round of the interview, and they would just ghost like, oh, the manager's out for vacation. They never set up the final
Well, where do
round.
you go, to the moon? Like,
Right. So that's when it was getting frustrating because like, okay, I'm months in, I'm passing round after round of interviews, but now all of a sudden, like, you're not even letting me complete the interview process. It almost feels like some games are being played.
hmm. So
And
do you feel like that once you got that interview and you start getting into that process, do you feel like you kind of settled back a little bit in your search, or were you still going just as hard, or did you kind of transition from oh, I think I'm gonna get this one because I'm in this interview process.
mm,
You know what I mean? Like,
so you remember I did get the one with Citigroup because I
mhm,
worked with them before, but for whatever reason, I never got a start date. So
mhm,
it would be like, oh yeah, we're gonna give you a start date, and it went on for like a month. You know what I'm saying?
yeah,
Like them giving me new start dates, alleged start dates, and it never came. But then I come across a news article of Citigroup is laying off 20,000 people, like 30,000 people,
right. And you're in the
whatever.
interview process with them for a start date. It's like a revolving door around there, man. You coming in, they're going out, but you just stuck in this whirlwind
Right.
of this revolving door. You never actually get in, right?
So my mistake was I was telling other companies like, hey, I've already accepted this one,
Right.
and
And
I
so
just
now you're
stopped.
not even trying, right?
Right.
Yeah, yeah. That's crazy, man.
And you shouldn't stop trying until you're in the door, until you're in the building, because they can rescind offers or, you
Yeah,
know.
yeah. I've seen it. I've seen it happen before, and it's just funny that that's even a thing, right? Like,
Yep.
it's easy to kind of let up because you feel secure in this new opportunity. But again, this is not a time where you lax up. Like, I
Right.
would, and like you said, until you get in the door somewhere, I would continue the process. I'm accepting any and all offers. I'm
Right.
I'm I'm really in there trying to find my best opportunity. And just because this company said that they're going to give me one doesn't mean they're actually going to give me one. And it could be that they're not even the best opportunity. It could be, remember that digging, you
Right.
1 foot away from a better opportunity, but because you found this one, like, okay, that's good enough. No, keep going. Keep trying.
Right.
Because if you think about it, you said that you started really trying about 2 months in, right?
Yeah, around probably
And
around 2 months.
after you actually tried, it took you about another 2 months, right, to actually secure
Exactly.
your next position. How different do you think it would have been if you would have done what you did at the second month mark, at the first day mark?
I might have gotten something a little sooner, you know what I mean? Because I would have been I wasn't prepared for the fact that the tech market is nowhere near what it was.
Hmm.
It was extremely dry. So I probably would have expended more effort and, been able to jump on something a little earlier.
Right,
So,
right.
that's the important point. The layoffs, especially in this climate, they're not vacations. Like maybe if it's a booming tech market and you got 20 guys in your inbox saying, "Hey, you want to work for this company?" Okay,
Right.
maybe then. But now I'm prepared to as soon as I'm let go, I'm hitting the ground
Yeah.
running, and I'm finding a way to generate some income, whether it's driving Uber or
Yeah. Do something.
freelancing.
Yeah. Yeah.
File for
Absolutely.
unemployment. That's a big thing. And
Okay. Yep. Absolutely.
just
Absolutely.
left with
You
like,
talking to me. You talking to me.
I'm talking to me too. Like I was just leaving money on the table because I'm like, oh man, I'm gonna give me a job. Like this is too much of a hassle. So
Right. Right.
I don't feel
Right.
like going through all that.
Yeah. So I would put it like this. So here's the blueprint, right? Like when you're when you lose your job for whatever reason, the first thing that you need to do is get back into the search immediately, right? Start applying, update your, keep your get your resume right. They got tools out there. AI is we talked about that briefly, but you got AI tools out there that'll get your resume right. You have resources out there that'll help you get back acclimated, and you don't have to wait. As a matter of fact, you shouldn't. You shouldn't wait. Get acclimated back to the job search process and start applying from day one. Start linking. Don't wait till recruiters hit you up.
Yeah,
Start actually looking for recruiters. Start looking for opportunities to get help with this job search because they already have the jobs on the table. They just trying to match it up with the right person, which could be you, and they may not have came across your profile, or you may not be active on that particular platform. So get out there and start connecting, start marketing yourself. Get active, get active.
yeah, yeah. That point about getting active is extremely important. You have to be proactive. You can't be reactive. Like,
Absolutely.
in the older markets where it was great, we were more reactive. We were just waiting for people to bring the opportunity to our door.
Oh
But
yeah,
you know,
yeah.
now it's like you have to go get it. You have to force the issue. You have to go talk to people. You have to
Mhm.
put your resume in everywhere. Like you can't sit and wait because it's not going to come to you.
Yeah, yeah. And when you start looking at these jobs, also don't limit your search to just your own specific skill set, right? Like open your search up. Start looking for other things because even if you don't necessarily fit the job description exactly, you can still land an opportunity because some companies are okay if you don't have everything, right? And the worst thing that they can do is just not reach out to you, which a lot of them are going to do that anyway. So you're not
Right.
losing anything by applying and trying to get into a position that you may not be 100% matched up for. I wasn't
Right.
100% matched up for the position that I'm in now, but I got it though. Because I tell people all the time, just give me the chance to prove to you that I'm the guy, right? If I just get in front of you, if I just get the opportunity to show you what I have to offer, I guarantee you will align because I'm just that positive about my ability to learn and to grow and to be whatever it is that I need to be for the position that I'm trying to be in. And so being malleable and being able to actually take on tasks that you may not be acclimated for is a super valuable resource to any company.
Right.
If you're the person that they can come to and say, "Hey, we don't know how we're gonna do this. What do you think?" And I'd be like, "Don't worry about it. I'll figure it out." Man, that's so valuable. And that's what I was at my previous company. And I feel like that I can be that in my current, right? Like,
Right.
because I just know me. And if you have that level of um, like dynamic, ability to just be able to take on whatever, even if you don't know it at all, but I can figure it out. That's where you're really gonna shine.
Yeah, absolutely, man. And my I would say my final point is be humble because you know you can always once you get the sometimes you're gonna have to accept jobs for less than you feel you're worth,
Yes.
or maybe a job in a completely different field. Like, okay, I've known this project. I've seen the story of this project manager worked for these big companies, and now he's working at Walmart. You might
Right.
say, "Oh man, why is he working at Walmart? Because he needs money." So,
Right.
you know, as soon as you get unemployed, try to find a way to bring some income in, because that's not a, you don't have to be there permanently. You know what I
Right.
mean?
Right.
You need some income coming in so you're not in a situation of desperation. And in the meanwhile, you're still looking for a high quality job.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
you know,
That's a great point. In the beginning of my search, once I actually started, feeling the pressure, I think I started feeling the pressure, like I said, about six weeks in or so. And originally, when I first started the process, I was very, like highbrow, like, oh, that's beneath me, or nah, I can do better than that, or no, I'm not
yeah,
even gonna apply for this because they're not offering enough, or whatever the case may be. And like you said, just because you go there don't mean you have to stay there. And something is better than nothing. And when
yeah,
it comes, and I'm gonna be honest, and I would be interested in how the audience feels about this, because I very much so have learned that companies don't value you as a person, they value you as a resource. You're
yeah,
an end to a means. And so they're not loyal to you. So why would you take it upon yourself unless you have like a very strong interest in the company? So for example, if you have, stock in the company or something where you feel like you're actually a part of it, like if I get a better opportunity in a week, I'm gone. Like, because at any moment, if you decide that I'm no longer valuable to you, I'm gone. What's
right,
the difference? Why should I, limit myself to my opportunities to be loyal to a company that's not loyal to me? You don't care about my family. You don't care about, what I have going on and how detrimental this is going to be to me and everybody else that's connected to me. So at the end of the day, why should I care about me being gone or leaving? Because I guess what? Just like you hired me, you'll hire somebody else. This is literally a spot to fill. This isn't, you
right,
don't, you know what I mean? You get what I'm saying. Like, do you feel
yeah.
any type of like connection, or have you ever felt like a strong connection or loyalty to a company?
Initially I did, because like, oh yeah, they gave me the opportunity, they brought me on,
Mhm.
so I'm at least give them a year of good work. So, but as you think about the name, human resource, that's the name of the department. So
Mhm.
you're a resource. The
Yeah.
minute that you're no longer bringing the value to the company that they think you should be bringing, you're out the door,
Yeah.
and you're not even an afterthought. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah. I'm sure my
nobody.
previous company not thinking about me no more. And as
Right,
much as I did for them, as much as I brought, value to that company, they're using still products that I created to this day.
right,
Like they're
right,
still utilizing them. So I know that what I provided was valuable, but it's not me that they were valuing. It's the product, it's what I created that they value. They feel like, hey, I can get anybody to create this. Whether you feel
right.
that way or not, that's how they feel.
Exactly. Their company will probably live on. They'll find somebody to fill the spot. Like, hey, they may
Mhm.
have to pay a lot more money. Be like, oh, we shouldn't have let him go. He was willing to work for cheaper. But they'll keep going. And
Hey, it's a real quick. It's another piece to that too, right? That point you just made. You say, yeah, we shouldn't have got rid of him
right,
because he blah blah blah, bro. I don't think you really think about this, and I know I just did when you said that. They would even take a worse product, right?
yeah,
Because initially you might think, oh yeah, we can get this from anybody, but then you realize, oh no, that guy was special. Like we're not getting the same productivity out of these new resources or this new resource that we were getting out of that one. What he could do was above and beyond what this one could do, right?
right,
And now you might even be paying this person less, but it takes them longer to do what I was doing. So
yeah,
you're actually paying more because you're not getting the efficiency.
right,
And companies do this all the time, and they think that they're getting a deal. Like, oh, well, I'm paying this guy one thing, and I can pay, this other person less. But yeah, that's going to take them twice as long to do what I'm doing. So you're literally paying more, right? But
a
nah,
lot of
thinking about
these.
that.
a lot of them are not technicians, so they kind of look at coders as interchangeable sprockets. Like you got different levels. Okay, you got the junior sprocket, the senior sprocket, the lead sprocket, and they kind of feel like all the ones in these tiers, they're pretty much the same level. So you get
Right,
rid of this one, bring this one in, and
right.
it's good to go. But it's not like that.
No, it's definitely not plug and play. Definitely not plug and play, man. I've met a lot of different developers in my career, and we're definitely not all created equal. And it's not to say that one person doesn't know the technology. It's like art, right? Everybody isn't an artist, and you can't say that, oh, this artist is better than this artist, because at the end of the day, it just depends on, it's all subjective, right? But with coding, yes, we're all using the same tool, but how we put this code together, how we structure this code, the way that it's art, right? And so, no, we're not all created equal. Yes, we might get the same end product, but the way we get there could
Right.
be totally different, right?
Exactly. Well, yeah, man, we're at the top of the hour, man. An hour flew by.
Oh man. Oh yeah,
I think it's a
it
good
definitely
good
did.
place to end it, man. Did you want to lead the audience with anything?
Like I said, I just really want everybody to start thinking beyond just where you are today and start thinking about where you want to be. Hone in on that, be a product of that, and be intentional.
Yeah, I definitely agree with everything you said, and on top of that, be proactive, not reactive, and be humble. You just need to get money coming back in, and once you're back in the game, then you can start negotiating for something better.
Absolutely.
On that note, hey man, appreciate you coming through, man. It was a
Always
great
a pleasure.
show.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Thank you everybody for tuning in. We'll catch y'all next time.